All right, good afternoon. Tomorrow we will have a guest. Please be here and be on your best behavior. Our guest will be Edem Wasornu, the Director of Operations and Advocacy at OCHA, who will brief you on her recent travels to Sudan and will bring you a first-hand account of the dire situation there. Also tomorrow, the Secretary General will brief the Security Council in person on the appalling humanitarian situation in Haiti. Prior to his briefing of the Security Council, I expect him to come to the stakeout to speak to you and to take some few questions about the situation in Gaza. We will confirm it, but you can pencil it in for about 9:45, 9:40 tomorrow morning. Speaking of the Security Council, this morning the Security Council held its monthly meeting on the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question. Briefing the Council members via video conference was Ramiz Alakbarov, our Deputy Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, and Joyce Msuya, the Deputy Emergency Relief Coordinator. They both expressed our ongoing deep concern about the situation on the ground in the Occupied Palestinian Territory. Mr. Alakbarov described the situation in Gaza as one that is sinking deeper into disaster, with mass displacement, high human casualties, and now famine. Hostages held by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups continue to languish in appalling conditions, Mr. Alakbarov reminded council members. He urged all sides to put an end to this brutal war immediately. Ms. Msuya, for her part, called for safe, rapid, unimpeded humanitarian access through all entry points into Gaza and to all people in need across the Gaza Strip. She said that in order to meet the needs of 2.1 million hungry and starving people, we need to bring in and deliver greater volume of life-saving assistance. We need the restrictions on essential items to be lifted, and we need to halt the delays and the denials that impede and hamper our work on the ground every single day. Turning to the situation on the ground, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that ongoing strikes have intensified, especially in and around Gaza City, killing and injuring people, causing destruction, and forcing displacement. While some medicines and medical supplies have reached Gaza, medical equipment and spare parts, which are items subject to Israeli restrictions, and that are urgently needed. As we mentioned yesterday, hospitals are reporting shortage of blood, placing more lives at risk as hospitals continue to receive mass casualties. Colleagues working on water, sanitation, hygiene warned that access to water remains extremely limited. With the majority of infrastructure destroyed over the course of the war, the entry of spare parts, generators, and equipment must be facilitated so as to rehabilitate critical water facilities. Partners have also noted that ongoing operations in northern Gaza and the recent displacement orders means that people could be forced away from areas where facilities indispensable for their survival are actually accessible. The facilities themselves could also be damaged or destroyed. Meanwhile, multiple organizations' attempts to bring in shelter items in the Gaza Strip is being rejected by the Israeli authorities. As we've repeatedly said here, many tents and tarpaulins that are being used by civilians who are being forced to move and being displaced multiple times, those items have worn out and must be urgently replaced. In addition, high tides overnight have submerged tents on the beach, which impacted about 200 families, according to what our colleagues are telling us. Tents and other shelter equipment must be allowed into all parts of Gaza, including directly to northern Gaza and to Gaza City, where they are all desperately needed. And just to mention an occasion that is supposed to be a happy one in the lives of children and their families, the new school year is approaching. Gaza children, for the third consecutive year, will miss this occasion. Education is a fundamental right, and no child should be denied this right. Access to education must be protected, it must be restored, as the current crisis threatens the future of an entire generation of children in Gaza. Our mine action partners also tell us that the expansion of military operations in Gaza will put more people at risk of harm due to explosive ordnance. Explosive ordnance risk education is an important part of ensuring people's safety, and partners continue to offer these sessions to communities and carry out explosive hazard assessment to reduce the risk also to aid workers. Finally, we reiterate once again that a permanent ceasefire, an immediate and unconditional release of all hostages being held in Gaza and those arbitrarily detained remains paramount. Moving north, our peacekeeping colleagues in southern Lebanon tell us that they observed this week continued Israeli Defense Force military activities in their area of operations, including shelling and mortar fire from south of the Blue Line, and that impacted various parts of their area of operations. Yesterday, peacekeepers observed 58 IDF vehicles in the Kfar Kila area of Sector East. Peacekeepers continue to also encounter aggressive behavior, which is hampering their mandate operation implementation. On Monday, IDF soldiers aimed a machine gun at a UNIFIL patrol in Sector East. Separately, a group of individuals in Sector West pelted stones at UNIFIL vehicles. We reiterate that any intimidation and interference with UNIFIL's work must stop. Also, on Monday, UNIFIL peacekeepers made a significant discovery of weapon caches in Sector East, finding dozens of rockets and rocket launchers, their fuses, as well as warheads. Mortar fuses and 2 mortar firing positions were also found in Sector West. Since the cessation of hostilities in November of 2024, peacekeepers have discovered and reported approximately 320 unauthorized weapons caches and infrastructure to the Lebanese armed forces. Meanwhile, UNIFIL peacekeepers have assisted in rehabilitating roads damaged in the recent hostilities. Last week, they cleared roads between Kfar Kila and Adeyseh in Sector East, improving mobility for the Lebanese army, for local residents, and of course for the peacekeepers themselves. Turning to Sudan, and of course, as I mentioned, you'll hear much more about Sudan tomorrow from Edom. But I can tell you that the already dire situation in North Darfur continues to worsen at an alarming rate. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that after more than 500 days under siege, the state capital, El Fasher, has become the epicenter of suffering for children, with UNICEF warning that malnutrition, disease, and violence are claiming young lives every single day. The agency says an estimated 260,000 civilians, half of them being children, remain trapped inside the city in dire conditions, having been cut off from humanitarian assistance for over 16 months. Meanwhile, acute malnutrition is spreading fast. UNICEF says more than 10,000 children in El Fasher have been treated for acute severe malnutrition since January. That's nearly double the figure for last year. But the depletion of supplies has now forced a suspension of services. Recent reports indicate that at least 63 people, mostly women and children, died of malnutrition in a single week. This comes as cholera continues to spread in North Darfur, with our partners reporting more than 7,000 cases there as of Monday. The outbreak is expanding across the Darfur region, also in the southeastern state of Blue Nile, where more than 3,000 cases of cholera have been recorded. We and our partners have scaled up support for the cholera response, including medical supplies and water, sanitation and hygiene assistance, which has helped contain the outbreak. However, new cases are emerging in remote communities where access to healthcare is limited. Meanwhile, heavy rains are making roads between South and East Darfur impassable and disrupting the delivery of medical supplies to affected areas. We and our partners remain committed to delivering assistance wherever it is accessible. However, insecurity, bureaucratic and logistical impediments, and severe underfunding continue to hinder our humanitarian operations. We reiterate our urgent call, which unfortunately and all too often seems to fall on deaf ears, that all parties should uphold international humanitarian law, guarantee safe and unhindered access for humanitarian workers, and prioritize the protection of civilians. And just for the record, I want to flag that yesterday afternoon, the Security Council convened a briefing on threats to international peace and security. Briefing council members was our friend Miroslav Jenscha, the Assistant Secretary General in the Political Affairs and Peace Building Department. He noted that nearly 3 years have passed since the destruction of the Nord Stream gas pipeline in 2022. Mr. Yensha pointed out that, as we've stated in previous meetings on this topic, any international damage to critical infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, is of serious concern, and such incidents should be condemned and investigated. He stressed that the protection of civilian infrastructure and security of international waters is critical for regional commerce, security, and stability. Lastly, we have a new international day on the books because we don't have enough of those. What international day is today? Exactly. It is World Lake Day. Congratulations. Did you know well, you might as well learn something today. Did you know that there are over 300 million lakes on this planet, ranging in size from tiny ponds to massive inland seas? Lakes support a wide range of plant and animal species, and millions of people rely on lakes as a primary source of clean water, but unfortunately they are affected by a combination of overuse, pollution, and climate change. This awkward silence means that you can now ask a question. Yes, Deji.
Just a completely non-current affairs question. Now, currently in China, many people, they are, talking about how to, having meetings and things in the UN. Is it possible for individuals to rent a UN conference room here in New York?
There are processes through which accredited NGOs and member states can use rooms. There are guidelines for that, and there are processes through which groups can also rent out the catering facilities. We sometimes have weddings, celebrations.
Weddings?
Yes. Not during the General Assembly, and I've yet to hear of a proposal during a press briefing. But in all seriousness, there are procedures for that, and of course, it does not, the fact that an NGO or group rents out space does not in any way imply that it is a sponsored or agreed upon by the UN Secretary.
Not endorsed.
Endorsed,
okay.
that's the word I was looking for. Thank you,
Thank
Deji.
you.
Michelle Nichols.
Thanks, Steph. Israel said it's going to add 2 aid distribution centres in southern Gaza, taking it to a total of 5. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, more aid distribution centers, the better. The UN was operating at some point and our partners about 400.
Recording in progress.
We were operating about 400. So I think that, again, we welcome any additional humanitarian distribution points. What we would like to see is an increase in our ability to do our work along with our partners. Senor.
Steph, a question on Venezuela. Yesterday, the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ivan Gil, requested the intervention of the Secretary General in order to restore sanity regarding the deployment of U.S. naval forces in the coast of Venezuela. Has he responded?
I think we're aware. We know there was a meeting, I think, yesterday in Caracas. We're waiting to see the actual letter, and then we'll comment on it when we see it. Yvonne Murray, welcome back.
Thanks indeed. Tell me, what do you know about UNIFIL and when the vote is going to happen? Do you have any more information than I have?
How about we do this? Tell me what information you have, and then I could tell you what information I have.
I actually don't have any, so any information
I'm
as
calling
well.
your bluff, yes. My understanding is that we will see a vote by the end of the week, but obviously I say that under the reserve that the scheduling of votes is firmly in the hands of the Security Council. We very much hope we will see a renewal of the mandate. I mean, we keep underscoring and I think illustrating every day the critical work that UNIFIL is doing in implementation of Resolution 1701 and in supporting the Lebanese armed forces to reassert their full authority south of the Litani River, and we hope they're able to continue to do that.
And is the Secretary General carrying out advocacy behind closed doors? And if so, in what form?
I think all member states are very clear as to what our position is, which is basically in the report. But I have nothing to share with you further. Amélie, then Abdelhamid, and then Alex.
A follow-up on UNIFIL. The last draft is trying to extend the mission for another 16 months until the end of 2026, and acting that the withdrawal will start at the beginning of 2027 within a year. So even if it's extending it, it's acting the end of it. So what would be the reaction of the Secretary General if the Council decide that it cannot leave for more than another year?
I think, Amélie, you've been around these halls for some time. You know that the last thing we will want to do is interject ourselves in the negotiations of a resolution. I think as I said, the Secretary General's position is well known. Let's wait to see what is passed, and then we'll comment on it. Maybe. Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Steph. Do you have any UN objective evaluation of the airdropping of food in Gaza? Is it helping? Is it increasing the level of chaos and disorder? What is
again, I think, we've always said that airdrops are a solution of last resort in any humanitarian situation because they're extremely costly, they're dangerous. But, when you are, I think we try to put ourselves we have to put ourselves in the shoes, if possible, of those who are waiting for the food. It is they pose some danger. We've seen it, but obviously they do bring some help. Our message is that there's a whole better system, right? There's a system that's worked. It worked during the ceasefire that occurred earlier this year. We've been very public about it. Let us do our work. Let the international NGOs that work in cooperation with us do our work, and that way there will be no need for risky and costly airdrops. Alex.
Thanks, Steph. I got a couple questions on Iran. Firstly, IAEA inspectors have arrived in Iran, have returned to Iran. Got any comments
No, I
on
mean,
that?
I've seen the news that was announced by the IAEA. As again, we hope that Iran will fully cooperate with the IAEA and live up to its obligations with the IAEA.
One more, if I may. So just a technical question. If European countries, European leaders decide to trigger the snapback mechanism, are they required to notify the Secretary General or not?
My understanding of the process is that there would need to be a letter to the Secretary General.
Thank you.
I hope that understanding is correct. Abdelhamid.
Second question. Did you see the comment made by Tom Barak, the U.S. ambassador in Lebanon, addressing the journalist as animalistic and chaos? And he said, if you continue to behave like that, I'm going to dismiss you or I'm going to leave. What is your comment on that?
My comment
as
is that I treat all the journalists I deal with the utmost respect, and everyone should. Madame.
With regards to COP30, there have been a lot of concerns coming out about, particularly with logistics, whether Belém is well equipped or well suited to host the expected number of delegations that are expected to be sent. But there have already been talks about certain countries, certain delegations decreasing the numbers in their delegations to send over to Belém this year. So my question is the Secretary General concerned with that impact, that there may be fewer people involved in COP30 this year?
Well, we're fully aware of the challenges that the Brazilian hosts are facing. We hope that a lot of these things will be worked out. It is critical that for this COP and any other COP, that there is a large civil society participation, that member states should be able to bring whomever they want and what they can afford. But it is important to hear the voices of the people in these COPs. And other COPs have had challenges on that front as well, but for different reasons. But we hope that the voices of civil society can be heard.
What about within the UN system themselves? Was it possible for even UN delegations within the UN system will also be affected
We're trying to work all that out in a cost-efficient manner. Okay. On that note, see you tomorrow.